Welcome to the course Effective Bible Teaching. This brief video will help introduce not only me as your professor, but also the course itself. My name is Dr. Robert DeVargas, and I live with my wife and son in Fort Worth, Texas. My son, Braden, as of this video recording, is still in high school. Has a couple more years there, and hopefully he'll be going off to college and doing great things. And my wife of 22 years and I both live here in Fort Worth near the downtown area. I went to A&M, graduated with a computer science degree in 1986, and then attended Southwestern Seminary and got both a communications degree, Master of Arts in Communications in 94, followed by a PhD in Foundations of Education in 1998. I also served as a campus evangelism coordinator at Texas Tech University for the Baptist Student Ministries right after I graduated from college. And then after serving there and doing some mission work in Australia, I came back and began my work at Southwestern Seminary. And while I was at seminary as a student, I was also a minister to youth at Waller Baptist Church in Waller, Texas for 4 years. Also, during my graduate school years, I was a pastor at Providence Baptist Church out here in a little town called near Hyco in Hamilton, Texas. And then I was also, while I was on faculty at Southwestern, Minister of Spiritual Growth at Hewlin Street Baptist Church here in Fort Worth. I did serve as a professor of Christian Education and Communication Arts at Southwestern Seminary from 98 to 2008, so I was there for 10 years. Since that time, I've served adjunctly at Dallas Theological Seminary for a few years. I currently serve adjunctly at DBU, Dallas Baptist University, as well as for the Canadian Southern Baptist Seminary. And now this is my part-time gig, having come out of the not just ministry but also the academic world. So the question is, what I do full-time? And so, although when I'm not thinking of you guys, I will be doing my work at Eternal Interactive. I'm co-founder and vice president of Eternal Interactive, which is a web-based, custom database web application computer design firm. And I started this with a couple of other graduates from Southwestern, and our primary focus is using technology to help ministries, particularly nonprofits, missions agencies. We're working extensively with the International Mission Board and the North American Mission Boards of the Southern Baptist Convention, as well as many of the state agencies here and in other places also in Europe. One of the products that we have made and we support and are continually working on is peoplegroup.info. This is a sample of one of the maps that we have created to help track people groups, diaspora people groups coming from other places into major metropolitan areas, both in North America as well as in Europe. And this is an example of a density map that shows the Vietnamese populations in and around San Francisco. So one of the reasons why we do this is to help church planters know who's around them because of the large influx of refugees and immigrants into these major metropolitan areas, and then to be able to allocate the appropriate resources to reach these people groups for Christ in a way that is culturally relevant. So, but we're not here to talk about missions or what we do with EI. We are here to talk about the course. But I want to let you know this is kind of what we live and breathe when I'm not teaching. The course. Before I get to the course, I did want to tell you my personal mission statement. I think it's important for you to know that, so you know a little bit about what my goal is in life. It's a very general statement. It is to love and follow Christ fully, to love and nurture my family, and then to use my talents and resources to help others do the same. So I hope in some small way that as I interact with you in this course, that I am not only showing Christ and loving and following Him fully, but I am also using my talents and resources to help you do the same as well as you go into your places of ministry to teach the Word and to love people. Well, the course objectives, basically I'm taking this off of the syllabus. I'm restating them slightly, but there are 5 main objectives here. First, we're going to look at the teaching and learning process, where we will talk about the nature of the learner and the role of the teacher, understanding who they are, who our students are, the learners are, and who we are as teachers, what our roles are and responsibility. We will also do a brief analysis of effective and ineffective learning in your own experiences. So we'll look at, I'll ask you to kind of detail out a little bit of what has been effective in your life and what has been ineffective, so we can kind of reflect on those. We'll also learn how to do a inductive Bible study, just to make sure everyone knows what that is and how to do that, because that's extremely important when we're teaching Scripture. In the second unit, we're going to look at instructional goals and how to write them. We'll look specifically at the levels of learning for the 3 domains, so the cognitive, affective, and the psychomotor domains. We'll look at how to write specific goals for those different domains. And we'll also have some practice writing and evaluating instructional objectives to make sure they look good and they work for us. Also, we'll look at planning for instruction. So we're actually going to put together a teaching plan. So we'll look at the anatomy of a teaching plan, what goes into a teaching plan, making sure that we understand that. And we'll write a sample teaching plan, and ultimately we're going to teach from that. Planning for specific outcomes here, what this whole area is about is to help us take what we learned about teaching plans and then build a teaching plan that's based around the specific objectives for each domain. So we'll look at the in-depth how to create a plan for each of the domains and write for specific level in a specific domain. So as an example, we know that in the cognitive domain we have several levels. The first one is just knowledge. But if I want to go a little bit more higher than knowledge, not just the recall of facts, but I want to reach and teach at a level of comprehension, or a level of application, or a level of analysis, which are higher levels in the cognitive domain, then I need to know how to put together a lesson plan that helps that learner get to that level. So if all I want them to do is memorize a fact, well, that's one thing. But if I want them to understand that fact, well, that's something completely different. And then we'll actually practice teaching. So you'll take your final lesson plan, and then you will actually teach it. And that will actually mean you will videotape yourself, and we will evaluate you. So the last part here is the evaluation of teaching. So going back to the practice teaching, you will actually find a venue that you will be able to teach in, and then you will record yourself. You'll have at least 5 students there. They will watch you. You will teach them as a part of a normal class. I think we're limiting it to only 20 minutes, 20-minute lesson plan. And then after that, they will evaluate you. You will evaluate yourself, and your peers in this class will also evaluate you. Those videos will be uploaded to a Vimeo account that we will all have access to. Well, this is what we're going to be about. What I would like to do now is to go through quickly another part of the syllabus. Let me bring the syllabus up. And the course textbooks, by the way, what we've just gone through is essentially these unit 1 through 6. So I've kind of restated them, but that's pretty much what we've just covered here. The course textbooks will be The Teaching to Change Lives by Howard Hendricks, an amazing book. Dr. Hendricks, who taught for years and years at Dallas Theological Seminary, who passed recently, over the past couple of years, has had an amazing impact on people like us who teach. And you'll love his book. It will not only be informative, but very almost devotional, because it's just such good stuff. We'll also read from the Creative Bible Teaching book by Lawrence Richards and Gary Bredfeld, as well as Called to Teach. And this is by my mentor and colleague, Dr. Rick Yount. So I've divided the chapters of these last two books up into the schedule. I do have another video posted with that information, so you can go through the schedule and see what we're going to be doing there. I will remind you it is a tentative schedule always, so there may be changes, but look at that video for a movement through the schedule. And quickly, the course requirements. You'll read Dr. Hendricks' book in its entirety and submit a reading digest at the end of the semester. And I'll give you more information about that. Just a quick word: the digest is basically a boiled down nutshell, one paragraph about the chapter that you just read. So if there's 10 chapters, you'll have 10 paragraphs. It's basically a brief synopsis of that chapter. And I do this for a couple reasons. Number one, it helps you to, distill the information down to its essence. And you write it so that you have it and you can go back to it as a reference. So you don't have to read through the book again. You can go, where's that chapter on? I knew there's a chapter on whatever, and then you can go through and you can quickly read your digest to remind you where that chapter is. Also, you can give this away to your colleagues, and that way, if they've never read that book, you can give them that digest they'll benefit from that quickly, rather than having to acquire and read the entire book. They can quickly and easily see what the book is about. You'll also create a you'll read the assigned chapters, and we'll do some things here. We'll have different topics that we're going to have to learning activities. There'll be 3 learning activities that I will assign you based upon our reading, and you will also develop a lesson plan here. This lesson plan, we'll actually do a couple of them. The first one will be kind of a preliminary one that we'll do, and the second one you will teach from, and that's the 20-minute lesson plan, and we'll look at that. And this is the one that you'll be graded on. And then you'll again practice teaching, like we talked about. Then you will videotape that and evaluate yourself. You'll also have your class, your students, your learners in that class evaluate you, and then we will evaluate each other. The grading you can see on the syllabus is pretty straightforward. The reading report of the Hendricks book is 20 points. The learning activities, there'll be 3 that I'll assign. There'll be 30 points each. Lesson plan, one of those for 100 points. Practice teaching, 100 points. And self-evaluation of teaching would be 50 points. And then you'll evaluate your peers, 4 different people for 100 points each, for 40 points. And then depending on how many points you get at the end of the semester, we'll give you your grade. So everything above 392 and above, it's A+, and it works its way down as well. And I'll leave the notes for you to read, and the academic policies and all that stuff. But just know that I'm excited about the course, excited about you being in it. And the next step for you is to look at the video on the schedule, and then from there, also make sure that you introduce yourself in the coffee shop. There'll be a little note about that, and then we will jump into session 1.